we knew storyboards. We knew how to read storyboards. We knew what happens in an editing room and how actors perform.
Right.
So we came to it with production skills or an understanding of the process that helped us come in and say, "Oh, I think you can cut a few frames there," and actually know what we were talking about.
You're listening to Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin.
Hey everyone, welcome to Screenwriters Need to Hear This. I'm Michael Jamin, and I got a great guest for you today. This is one of my first bosses, actually. And yeah, John, it's true. I'm here with John Aibel, one of the partners. His partner is Glenn Berger. I'll have him on in a future episode, so tell him to just relax. I know he wants to be.
Let's see how this goes first.
Yeah, exactly. So and this guy's got a ton of credits. He's a real life movie writer. So I'm going to sell you, John, and then I'll let you talk for a second. But first, let me talk. Let me sell you up.
That's fine.
Everyone knows, like people say I'm a good creative writer. Well, I'm going to prove it by selling you here, by building you up. So he's written on AUSA. He wrote on King of the Hill for many years, including he was the showrunner, season 5, co-showrunner. He also worked on Married to the Kellys. That was his TV. That was his run in TV, I think. And then he went on to write Kung Fu Panda, Kung Fu Panda 2, Kung Fu Panda 3, proving milking that thing, just milking that Kung Fu Panda thing. And then Trolls, Monster Trucks, and you've got a couple upcoming stuff I want to talk about. Jonathan Aibel, welcome to the show.
Thank you. That was okay.
Wasn't good? What should I have said?
Well, King of the Hill was 6 years, and that was great TV. And then you kind of mentioned some things. I was on 6 weeks with the same emphasis.
I'm pretty sure. So they're not equal. You're saying?
Well, some are hits and some are learning experiences.
I'm wearing my shirt for you, by the way, my King of the Hill shirt. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you something else. So you guys, you and your partner Glenn you and Richard Pell hired us to be on King of the Hill. I think there was an opening because of Paul Lieberstein left, and we literally took his office. So I thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
When we joined the show, it was like, it's your responsibility to get up to speed. So I asked for every script that was written or anything on DVD that was already shot. And I distinctly remember reading all your guys' scripts, you and Glenn's scripts, and just thinking, man, every script you wrote was just tight. It was so tight. And you'd come out of the box with a big joke. And it was just so well written. And there was 20 writers in the show, but I remember that your scripts always stood out. Like, man, these are always,
I appreciate that.
Always good. Yeah.
I also appreciate your diligence.
My diligence.
To come into a job and say, "Let me read everything, let me see everything."
I didn't think that was
a bit of a challenge with 100 episodes.
Oh, it was dreadful. The whole thing was a horrible experience. There's a lot to, but I remember. But you have to do it. You have to. That's how you get the voice of the characters but the tone, like what kind of show episodes are being told. I remember. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I remember we were on Just Shoot Me, for the first 4 years. And I remember after the first season, King of the Hill was up against Just Shoot Me. And I remember I was actually house sitting for Steve Levitan for some reason. And we were watching, we threw a big party. He wasn't in the house. And we were watching King of the Hill. It just came on. It was the Bobby's falls in love with the dummy. And I remember watching thinking, oh no, this is the competition. this is really good.
That we used to watch Just Shoot Me all the time in the writer's room and feel that same way.
Is that right? I didn't know that. I don't think so.
But I just feels like it should be.
Yeah, you actually should reciprocate.
That'd be a nice thing to say.
It would have been. But yeah, so damn, the show was, and I still even today, I get a ton of compliments on King of the Hill. But tell me more. Tell me how you broke in. How did you guys even get on King of the Hill?
We were very lucky in that before we even moved to California, Glenn and I met. We were management consultants, and we met someone at this consulting firm who was college roommate with Greg Daniels' wife. And when we first started thinking maybe we don't want to be consultants and would prefer to be comedy writers, she said, you should talk to Suzanne. Give her a call. So we called Suzanne to say, we know your friend. Can we talk to you about writing? And she said, you really want to talk to my husband? So she put Greg on the phone. He didn't know who we were.
What was Greg doing at that time?
He had moved to LA. I think he was doing Seinfeld at the time, or had done the parking spot on Seinfeld.
Oh, I didn't
He'd
know
come
that.
off of SNL.
Right.
And he gave the most basic advice that now you would probably give people, or you'd Google this. And Glenn wrote it down. It was move to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What else do we need to do? Like how do you become a writer? And just super helpful in that regard. And then we moved to LA and never ran into him until King of the Hill. We had our first meeting, and Glenn, I think he may have brought the pad and said, it's your fault, we're here.
But how did you get the meeting?
That it was just through our agent. There's this new show starting up. It's animated. I don't want to do animation. I know, and it's non-guild. I don't know about that. And you're going to work in a full year for 12 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this sounds terrible, but it's Greg, it's Mike Judge, who's coming off of Beavis and Butthead, and you will learn a lot, whether it's a hit or not. And we thought, well, that's probably the best reason to take a job. There was nothing to see. There was no pilot even. It was just a script.
Right.
There are no voices to listen to. It had been cast. So it was really just going under the assumption that, well, anytime you think something's going to be a hit, it never is. So let's take a job just based on the people. And I don't think at that moment it wasn't like, do we take this or do we take this? It was, well, do we take this or do we just hang on?
But you had
maybe we hadn't.
You didn't have any other credits before that, did you?
No, we started off, we did an episode of the George Carlin show. We had done.
You were right down the hall from me. I didn't know that because I was a PA. Right.
Well, we had done a freelance.
Doesn't matter. You were in the Warner Brothers building 122 or something, because that's where it was.
Well, because here's what our great George Carlin story is, that we wrote this script for Sam Simon.
Right.
We turned it in. We get a call a few weeks later from someone at the studio who said, great episode. And we said, oh, you read the script? Well, read the script. It taped last night.
It's such a slap in the face.
Yeah, we were not invited to our own taping. So we had a party, we watched it at home. Look, our first big credit.
But that's amazing too. How did you pitch that? You're skipping all this good stuff.
Our agent just back then, we were new. I think we'd done a sketch show on Nickelodeon that got us in the guild, that got us an agent, and she just put us up for stuff. One of them was this freelance of Carlin, and one of the other things is we went to pitch Sam, who it was a hazard. Like, he had deadly sharp throwing stars on his table, so you'd go to like, oh, what's the paper? Don't touch those. They were razor sharp, and he also had a couple vicious Dobermans in the office.
I remember that.
Then he also had what we assumed was his story editor sitting at the table as we pitched him some story ideas. And then we left and realized, no, that was his next meeting. The next writer who's going to pitch story ideas sat at the table while we pitched ours, and then we left and he stayed and pitched his.
That's a little unusual.
It was a very odd thing, but that worked out in the sense that we got the freelance.
Your scripts must have been very good then. I mean, because
I don't think so.
It must have been if you got an agent that easily and got to be able to pitch these shows.
Well, the agent, I don't know if it was easy. What happened was what happens to most people is you come out and you think, we need to find an agent. We need to get an agent. We're not going to get a job without an agent.
Right.
And then you meet all these agents. They love you. They love your stuff. And they say, if you get a job, I'm happy to sign you.
Yes.
And we realized we're not going to get work, but just an agent. We need to get work somehow. And just by knowing people, talking to people, we wound up at MTV doing a game show.
What show was that?
It was called Trashed. I think it finally made it there. We just worked on the pilot and then got to know people on the hallway. We were in the MTV buildings, and next door were some writers on this Nickelodeon show, and a couple of the writers had just left, and someone said, "Oh, I hear they're looking to hire."
Wow.
So we said, "Hey, we've got sketches. Can we meet?" The executive producer read our stuff, met with us, and said, "Yeah, I'll hire these guys." We went to our agent, the potential agent, and said, "We just got offered a guild job. Do you want to represent us?" There's no negotiation other than you say, "Yeah, I think I can get my boss to sign you." Sure. And that was it. And then we were in the guild. We were having fun writing, and I had credits. But I wouldn't say we necessarily knew how to write. We knew how to be funny and come up with gags. But the idea of how do you write a scene, how do you write a script was a little bit mysterious.
But and so you met Glenn. He was a coworker when you were in your consulting firm, and then how did you both So you never even dreamed as a kid of being a writer? It was not like, how did this come out of? Where did this come from? This writing thing?
I don't think I had any idea that people wrote for a living. Like you'd watch shows and you wouldn't think, I don't really know what I was thinking. Like if I went to see a play on Broadway, I knew a human had written it, but there's something about TV where you would think, I don't know. Those are characters who say these words, and you don't think of 10 people in a room writing those words. So it wasn't until Simpsons and Seinfeld started breaking through that I started feeling like, whoa, there's TV here that I'd want to write. And later I found out it was because people just a few years ahead of me at Harvard were writing those shows. So I was sort of thinking like, why does this feel like it's my sensibility, without realizing I was kind of swimming in the same waters they had.
You weren't on the Lampoon then.
No.
You didn't
have
that
no idea that this is something.
How did you know you were funny then? Like,
I mean, I think I always had a sense of humor and was known for being funny / maybe sometimes disruptive, but cleverly disruptive in school. Like I'd done musical theater, so I was I wasn't like unfamiliar with entertainment.
Right.
But that was different from thinking, that's something you can make a living at. And then it was right around that time where these articles started coming out about the number of people who had gone from the East Coast to LA, and how many Letterman writers and SNL writers and Simpsons writer and Seinfeld and Frasier and Cheers and all these. It opened up my eyes to, wait a minute, you can make a living?
But when you
I had no idea.
When you quit your job, then you came to LA, you had no job, right? You were just like, I'm going to live off my savings, or what would you do?
Right. We saved up from, I think Glenn says he sent away for grad school applications his second day of work, is how quickly he knew that place wasn't for him. I was a little later in the process, but we started writing at night. Like we found out you got to write a spec script.
Right. And you guys are roommates too?
No, we weren't, but we would sometimes call in sick and then work on our stuff. Or Glenn would stay home and turn the light on in my cubicle and put my suit jacket over my chair. It was all God. Our heart wasn't really in it, but we stayed and did the job and saved up.
Right.
So that we could move to LA. And we didn't move out to LA like, I think we approached it the way we approached consulting, which was, this was my job as a consultant, was I was given a list of doctors, and we had sent them a survey, and it was go down this list, call each doctor's office and ask them if they filled out the survey. So it's like, hello, Dr. Levine, my name is John Aibel. I'm calling on behalf of this, and we've sent a survey. I was just wondering if you had a chance to and I just have to do that for hours. And the skill it taught me was just pick up the phone and call people.
Right.
So when we were thinking of moving to LA, it was, oh, you should call, like calling Suzanne.
Right.
instead of saying, she doesn't know me, it was just, okay. She's just like a doctor I'm calling you. She doesn't want to talk to me. She'll just
You
not
weren't
take the call.
intimidated at all. You weren't intimidated at all.
I don't think that I knew to be intimidated. We were in Boston at the time.
Uh-huh.
You weren't surrounded by people who had this dream of going to Hollywood and then came home with their tail between their legs and said, oh, it's awful out there. It was, that place seems fun and sunshine. And I knew people from school, friends of my brothers were out there. So when we showed up, it felt like there was a group, you weren't alone. There are other people here pursuing the dream, but not so many that you felt like there's no chance this is going to happen. Like we were, I don't know if cocky is the word, but because we didn't know any better, we were just like, oh, it's going to work out.
And
we're gonna get a
how
job.
long did it take for you to get work when you moved out here? It sounds like it was fast.
Well, we moved out in September and we got the game show started in December. And then I think by the following summer, we were on the Nickelodeon show.
What show was that? What was that called?
It was called Roundhouse.
I don't know that one.
Bruce Gowers, who just passed away 2 days ago, who did the Queen, the Bohemian Rhapsody video. He was the director of it.
Oh, wow.
So there's a little Roundhouse trivia. It was really fun. It was a lot of In Living Color writers.
Wow.
Between gigs were there. So it had dancing and original music, and it was a sketch show for tweens on SNCC.
SNCC? Is that what it was? Really? It's so funny because this show here was on Nick at Night, which was supposed to be not Nickelodeon, and Nick at Night.
No, it's different.
But it's not, because I don't remember if Nick at Night started at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. or whatever. But Seavert, my partner, Seavert, used to say, but it's the babysitting channel up until 8:01, and then it becomes racy. But the parents don't know that.
Right. No one's turning.
Yeah. So we got a lot of
Nick was Saturday night. Saturday Night Nick is a whole other ballgame.
Oh, is that what that is? SNCC.
Yeah.
SNCC.
I guess they could have also done it Sunday without changing the name. Yeah. But it was Saturday.
Right. Or Wednesdays. Wednesdays or Thursdays. Any day that ends with an S.
That's true. Wednesdays, Nick.
Yeah. Anyway, that's why we're not in the marketing department.
My point, though, is by the time we got to King of the Hill, we had worked on a show that was real old school in its joke telling, like real strong setup, 3 a page, boom, 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 boom. Then we worked on another show that was very emotional, where it was single woman in the city kind of show. And it wasn't not funny, but it was, as a writer there, it was, wait a minute, I'm supposed to tell a story that isn't just the situation of situation comedy. It wasn't just the character loses her driver's license and has to go to the DMV and this crazy stuff happens. It was thinking about the internal life. And they're like, okay, that's an interesting way to...
But then when did you learn actually how to write a story structure? Is that King of the Hill?
I think so. The show that was very joke heavy, the other thing you learn on a joke heavy show is the tricks. Someone comes in and says something, and then at the end of the scene, someone repeats it in a callback, and then people laugh and the music plays and you dissolve slowly to the next scene. And they're like weapons. They could be used for good or evil. Right. So by the time though we got to King of the Hill, I remember pitching the very first week to Greg, and you just have no idea what this show is. You're thinking The Simpsons. So, I remember we pitched something like Dale's an exterminator, so he tents a big house and then people think it's a circus and start showing up at it.
I like that.
And Greg's like, that's a little, probably by season 8, that would have been.
That's a season 8 idea.
That's great. But in the beginning, it was, I think that's a little not observational enough. And it's sort of like, well, what do you mean to define observational was the question. Like, how do you find comedy out of actual human behavior?
Right.
In the way how do you observe what a person would do in a real life situation? And no one had really done that in animation, which was
Yeah.
I think the brilliance of Mike and Greg was to say, well, what if you take this style that's associated with unreality and give
Right.
it more reality than anything else you've seen in animation?
And that's what was unusual, because we used to say that in many ways, just King of the Hill was less of a cartoon than Just Shoot Me. I mean, Just Shoot Me was more of a
Sure.
cartoon, you know. It was, but and it's unusual because you'd say, I even back then I was like, well, why is this show animated? Like, because no one's eyes popping out, no one's running on air, you know, no one's doing any Daffy Duck stuff. But I guess it was just because you could shoot it like a movie and it could be real, but you didn't have the budget.
Well,
Because
you're
it could
probably
have
overthinking it because it was just the real reason is they had to deal with Mike, and Mike's an animator, and this is what he
Oh.
wanted to do.
I guess so. But
And
usually you
then-
say, like,
and
why
then
is it animated? Like, you know, other
Because
than
yeah,
that's
but
that's all.
why is this? It's because Mike wanted, he saw, that was his thing, and then he did, and that's great. That's as good a reason
And
as any.
how much was, and I've heard stories, but I think people want to hear this. How involved was Mike, like literally on a day-to-day basis in those early years with the show?
I can't say I know the full scope of it because I'm sure he was more involved in the production.
But he wasn't in the
Then-
writer's room. I mean, I know, like,
No, because he was
Yeah.
living in Texas.
right.
So he would come in, and then we would do the story retreats, maybe you remember, or we'd go to Texas and meet with him, or he would come in, or we'd go to his house. It was Greg on the day-to-day, and then I don't really know what the communication between the two of them was.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Mike's deal was, I have a life in Texas and I don't want to move to LA and do this grind, because he had done that grind for Beavis and Butthead and the Beavis and Butthead movie.
Right. Right.
So I think that's what Greg took on.
But yeah,
it was a great combination.
he would have notes though. I remember, you know, even on the audio tracks, you could sometimes hear him say, "I'm not, that line's not right." He'd tweak a line or whatever, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, you get his little. I'm not going to say that. How about this?
I'm not going to do that. But then, okay, so then you guys rose up to the ranks, because only in 5 or 6 years you were running the show, which is a pretty fast climb. To be able to run a TV show after only that short amount of time is kind of crazy, almost, you know.
I think we were. And meanwhile, it feels like, oh, we're not getting anywhere in this town. And some of that is because you do a show. We'd probably done a year of it, worked on it a year before it even premiered. So
Right.
you're putting all this into it, and you don't know if it's going to be a hit. And then the surprise was it was doing really well. And then you have no time to enjoy it because you're halfway through starting season 2. It was both really exciting and just crazy exhausting, and
It was, yeah,
like 3 a.m. And that's sort of fun sometimes.
when you're young, it's
In the
okay.
beginning, where it's, hey, it's like college. We're all
Right.
hanging out, we're just being funny. And then you start dating, and your partner's saying, what time are you going to be home? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, what time do you think? I don't know. Someone could come into this room in 2 minutes and say, we're good, go home. Or someone could come in 2 minutes and say, I just got Mike's notes, we need to start over.
Yeah.
You don't know. And that's when you're a staff writer, not so hard, because you just do what you're told. As you move up and take on more responsibility, it definitely became less fun. Aspects of it were fun. Directing actors was really fun. Working with editing and storyboard artists and the animation directors, fun. But the more stuff like, can I go to a dentist appointment on Wednesday? Let me see, what's the staff? What room am I in today? It's like, I left consulting because I didn't want to be a manager. And that's part of show running is that. And for us, that wasn't the fun part. The fun part, as we say, Glenn and I would note, you rise up and become a showrunner based on the strength of your writing. And then you get to a position where you don't have time to write anymore.
Oh, it's not only that. People, they reach out to me all the time. You know, that I want to be a showrunner. It's like, I just wanted to be a writer. Like, because to be a show, it's like you just said, none of us become comedy writers because we want to be managers. Like that's not, and when you're a showrunner, that's what you're doing. You are managing
Yeah.
other people, and we're not equipped, we're not prepared for it, and we don't necessarily even want to do that. And it's a hard leap.
Right. And it was definitely challenging also because you're putting all this work in, then you realize this isn't even my show. This is
Yeah,
Greg and
yeah.
Mike's vision, and you're just trying to fulfill their vision.
Right.
Like I can see if I were running my own show, saying, I love this idea and this is my baby and I'm going to protect it. And I want to be the auteur here. I want to see my vision through. But so much of show running isn't that at all. It's just Greg would describe it as it's sort of like pottery, where you would make a pot, put it on the shelf, and all right, what's the next one? Sometimes they break, sometimes they're not quite formed, but you don't have time. You got to get to the next,
Right.
get to make another pot.
But do you have, and I want to get to your film career, which is very impressive, but did you have any like eyes to go back and do any kind of television, even creating your own show?
After King of the Hill, we wrote a few pilots. We were at Fox and writing pilots, and it was a weird time in TV where every year Fox would say, we don't want single camera shows. We need multicam. We need to pair them with whatever hit they had there. We need to pair this. So we'd write a multicam, and then they would only pick up single camera shows. And I think that happened 2 or 3 years. Or what?
Yeah.
What's going on? So we started realizing, I think we were kind of spoiled by King of the Hill. It was just creatively, just an amazing show, and so fun to write those characters and work with those actors and work with that staff. That after that, it's hard to just go and do sitcoms. I mean, like I enjoyed the form, but I couldn't see myself spending 10 more years doing that. And it felt like the air was coming out of that format.
Then how did you jump into features?
Well, it started because as I mentioned, King of the Hill was not a guild show in the first years. So we're doing it. We're in our second or third year, and we realize we're going to lose our health insurance. What do I mean? Like, it was a very adult sounding realization of, oh, health insurance. What I hadn't even been thinking, because when you're in the Writers Guild, it's amazing. By the time I was 23, I had health insurance.
But you had health insurance through the Animators Guild, though, through TAG.
We weren't animation. We were not
covered by
unaffiliated.
Anybody. Oh,
no.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So we said to our agent, we need either freelance episodes or we need to write a feature. And she said, well, do you have a feature spec? And we said, no. And to her credit, she said, there's this director, he's been hired to direct a reboot of Freddy it was Freddy versus Jason. And he loves King of the Hill. And basically it was, can you give him a fun, he's got an idea for story, fun characters that he can then kill. Like it was right around Scream had come out. So there was the birth of horror comedy.
Right.
So he said, yeah, we can do that. And we met him, we got along, he loved the show, we loved working with him. So we wrote this script, which then didn't get produced. But it was, this features is kind of like writing King of the Hill, but longer.
Right.
You just kind of write King of the Hill, and then you keep writing and keep writing, and then you have 100 pages of King of the Hill instead of 22. But the 3-act structure is similar, and the idea of thinking about a character and how do you write a character, we realized it's kind of more cinematic than episodic television. Like the things we were learning were more applicable to writing features than writing sitcoms at that point.
Yeah.
So when our television deal was nearing its close and we were thinking, do we renew it? Do we throw our hats out there as showrunners for hire? And we thought, let's maybe we can write some more features. And we just started getting some rewrites, doing some originals,
Hmm.
and you can start making a decent living writing movies that never get made.
Oh, for sure. At least you could
But
then. I don't know
it's
if it's now. Yeah,
yes, then you could, but it was super
Mhm.
frustrating
Yeah.
because everything would be about to go, and then there would be a reason it
Hmm.
wouldn't
Yeah.
go, and there were none of those reasons were under your control, and you would do a great job, and everyone would love it, and then this movie just came out,
Yeah.
basically the same premise, so sorry.
Yeah.
And that's when we had been meeting this fantastic exec named Christine Belson, who was then at Henson,
Hmm.
and we were huge Muppet fans.
Right.
And she brought us in, and we totally hit it off. And she said, "I want to do a Muppet Kung Fu movie."
Uh-huh.
And we thought, "Oh my God, yeah, that would be so great. A Muppet, yes, sign us up for that." And we said, "But we read that DreamWorks is doing this Jack Black Kung Fu Panda movie." And she said, "Oh, those movies take forever. I don't think I wouldn't worry about that." So then we don't hear from her for a while. We're worried what's going on. Then we get a call from her. "Okay, so I moved over to DreamWorks and we're looking for writers on Kung Fu Panda." And we
Wow.
said, "Oh, okay." So it was just a case where it started off simple enough. They asked us to come in for just 2 weeks of consulting to see what they had underway and talk about the story because it was in a
Well,
rough,
but
it
they
had
have a
been,
different. DreamWorks has a whole different system over there. So what do you mean consulting? Because I know they work very differently from other studios.
well, so there had been writers who, kind of what happens is, King of the Hill, The Simpsons, those shows, very writer driven. It
Right.
doesn't have time. You don't have time to be anything other than writer driven. So the
Right.
animators are given the script and the audio,
Right.
and they're told, "Draw this."
Hey, it's Michael Jamin. If you like my videos and you want me to email them to you for free, join my watch list. Every Friday, I send out my top 3 videos. These are for writers, actors, creative types. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. I'm not going to spam you, and it's absolutely free. Just go to michaeljamin.com/watchlist.
In feature animation, DreamWorks especially, they may take that script and they'll take the first 10 scenes of the first half of the movie, and give it to 10 different storyboard artists who will take that and read it and say, "I see what this scene is doing, but maybe I can do it this way." And they will draw something and write it and animate and storyboard it, and often record the dialogue themselves. And it's sort of like almost like what is it, 32 short films about Glenn Gould, where you end up with these almost mini movies in the beginning of a movie anyway, like at the start of a development process, where you would watch this movie and say, "Okay, that's Poe is different from this Poe, who's different from that Poe." And you watch it and you think, this doesn't make any sense, but I can start to see a story in there. And then they'll do it iteratively. So then, that scene there, that moment, I really understood who the character was. So more of that moment. So by way of saying, you may have someone who came in and wrote a script, but they might be long gone at this point because now it's been torn up, it's storyboarded. Now you're working off transcripts where they've written down what's on screen, and that's what you're rewriting off of. So by the time we came in, there was like a movie ish, like there was something in black and white you could watch
Hmm.
that everyone knew wasn't necessarily coherent. But the point isn't coherence. The point is what jumps out at you. Like we watched it and said, "Oh, I think what you're doing is it's kind of like a Cinderella story, right? He's the guy in the beginning who wants to go to the kung fu ball
Hmm.
and can't go, and then the prince points at him, and then he goes on this thing, and now the bad guy's coming for him, and he doesn't know, and is he the chosen one or isn't he the chosen one?" It's like those are like, now it feels a little glib for me to say that as if it were obvious. It was
Right.
not. It's
It was
it's
not.
not
I'm sure it was
obvious.
not.
You're
Right.
sitting there thinking, is it this story? No, maybe it's the story. Some of it is. There are two. Jack Black has two great archetypical characters. One is the high fidelity, like the jerk,
Yeah.
who deep down is suffering from low self-esteem.
Right.
And then he has the friendly guy who deep down is suffering from low self-esteem.
Right.
So some of the production of the development of Kung Fu Panda was which Jack is in our movie? Is he the guy who's chosen to be this Kung Fu guy and then realizes, oh my God, this is great. Now I don't have to work anymore. Now I can just go to the palace and hang out and relax and live it up until he finds out there's a responsibility. So there was some of that version of the movie. Then there's the guy whose wishes more than anything he can be the Kung Fu master, but knows because of he's a big panda, that's impossible because pandas don't do Kung Fu. And then his dream comes true, and then he has to, that's what the movie ended up being. But when you started seeing that character in the opening reel, you'd say, "Whoa, I want to know more
Right.
about that." And that's
So
sort of the
you had to-
magic of these.
You
Taking
had to
the
make
time.
sense of it. But see,
Yeah.
that's what I'm curious though, because for me it seems counterintuitive. It feels like you're putting the cart ahead of the horse. It's like, I wonder if was that. Did you feel the same way? Because usually, okay, we have an idea. We have the writers come up with a thread, through line, and there's a story.
Well, it's inefficient for sure,
Uh-huh.
but I think you can look at animated movies for the most part as a genre and say, for the most part, they're really well constructed.
Right.
And I think this is why, because if a writer's gonna, it's very hard to create a great movie off of 6 drafts, even 8 drafts, 10 drafts,
Mhm.
and just see it on paper and say, yeah, that's gonna work. Because no one knows how to read a script.
I see.
Like, even as a professional writer, I don't think I could read a script and say, this is going to be an amazing movie. You can say, this is a great script,
Right.
but is it going to be an amazing movie? I don't know. Animation,
Right.
you're making the movie as you're writing the movie. So it's
to
not
you, it makes sense
theoretical. Is this going to be good? It's, I see that moment. I see Poe and his father
right.
having that moment where Poe is afraid to tell his dad what he wants to do with his life.
I see.
That's
So that
working.
makes sense
So
to
how do
me.
we build on that?
Right. That makes sense to me. So it's very collaborative with you and the animators then.
Oh yeah, the storyboard team, the directors, the producer, the actors.
Uh-huh.
It was very different from TV animation.
Right. Sounds very different.
And like our one of our first the first moment we realized that was the producer said, I want you to sit in a room with this guy, the storyboard artist, and talk about the scene and what it could be. So we sat with him and we worked line by line. We workshopped it and said, it could be this, could be this. Yeah, I could draw this, do this. I said, great, we're going to write it up. We wrote it up, gave it into him. 3 weeks later, we go to watch the scene. It's nothing at all we discussed. I went to the producer. So, what a thing. She said, yeah, I know, but I know he's kind of out there, and I wanted to see what he would take your stuff and give you, if all you want, if all you're expecting is the best version of what you've already done, you're closing off the chance that you'll be surprised by something.
Right.
So that's cool. On the other hand, sometimes in their scenes where you just say, can you just please do the pages?
Right.
Like, we've thought a lot about this, we understand. And there's some scenes in that first movie which went pretty much from our pages to the final version because they were just compact. They made sense. There wasn't a lot of room. There wasn't a need for a lot of exploration. It was, okay, that works. Let's just get that going and move on to the others.
So they brought you in under contract for a couple of weeks just to see how you would respond to the animators.
Yeah, we had to see what we would. It wasn't a trial. It was, they thought in 10 days we would give them an outline that they could work off of.
But even still, they knew that they would probably go off the reservation and you'd be required to collaborate more.
But I think that happened a lot. It was more of then when we pitched our take on it to Jeffrey Katzenberg, and he said, great, when can you guys start writing? And the other people looked at each other like, oh, I guess we should probably put that deal in place. So then we wrote a draft, and then they took the draft and then started going through that process of tearing it apart. And at which point they realized it would probably be helpful to have us around. And I think what helped is that coming from TV, we knew storyboards, we knew how to read storyboards, we knew what happens in an editing room and how actors perform.
Right.
So we came to it with production skills or an understanding of the process that helped us come in and say, oh, I think you can cut a few frames there, and actually know what we were talking about. At the same time, the big difference was television is it's a sprint, as you know.
Yeah.
It's you need to get this done because the actors are going to be here at 10 a.m. to read this and record this. So you need something for them. So we were approached feature animation. We got to get this done. We got to get this done. And then what you realize is that's the exact wrong way to do it, because you get it all done now. Then when stuff starts changing, you've already written stuff it's obsolete before anyone has seen it. It's
Right.
like animation is best. I think it's a marathon of sprints where we need this scene has to go into production and Jack is coming in Thursday to record this. We need these 3 pages done. All right, we'll get it done. We'll get it done. Great. Now in 6 weeks, we're going to need sequence 1500 going into rough layout. So that's the next one. I know
But you're working off
crazy.
an outline. You know what the story is, right?
You do and you don't. Isn't that, I know that's a weird thing to say, but how many, I can't tell you the number of boards there that would say big battle, like Act 3, big battle, wrap up, epilogue.
Is this the way animation movies were done, like at Disney back in the day? Is this where they're getting this from?
It's possible. I think where it comes from is that what's your expense? Your greatest expense of time and therefore money is the animator, the person at Disney drawing the cell. At DreamWorks, the final editor moving frame by frame, that takes a lot of time, and it is such a skill. And the people who do it are so brilliant that it's not like you can say, we need 6 more animators who can capture Poe. There was this guy, Dan Wagner, just a brilliant animator, and he was the one who could give Poe his soul.
Right.
So you only get so much Dan, so you don't want to give Dan 10 scenes to do and say, we're not sure if these are all going to work. But so you're not giving the animators the scenes until they're ready. At the same time, the animators can only do so much at the same time. So while they're working on one scene, there's no reason to have the other scenes done. So it's sort of like you back up into the process and you'd say, well, if they can only animate this much now, well, let's keep working on those other scenes and make them better and keep playing with them until it's too late. And then we'll turn them over. So you have the time to get it right. And if you said, no, let's rush that, we got to get all right now, there's no reason to.
It sounds like this, because knowing how you guys ran King of the Hill, it sounds like this is like the perfect fit for you, because you guys would often rewrite the hell out of a scene, trying different ways and just experimenting.
That was, I think, thank you. I think it is a good fit for us to have said, okay, we've written that scene. There are a lot of exercises that are kind of cool that you can use, which is stuff like, well, let's write the opposite.
Right.
You have someone come into a scene who's really excited. Like, well, what if they came into the scene feeling the other way, and that you flipped? You kind of have the opportunity to explore more,
right? And then
know that there's no punishment for it, because the whole point is to experiment.
Right, that's the point. So do they keep you under? How does it work? Do they keep you under contract at that point, DreamWorks, to do other movies, or are you constantly pitching them to get assigned other projects? Or
no, it was great in that it started off, I think we were there 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the time we were in person. Then it would be 3, then after 6 months, 3 days a week. As there's less to change, they need less of you. So then it was 2 days a week. then 1 day a week, and then at the same time we were doing other rewrites at other studios. And I think it was when we got down to 1 day a week, they said, we have this movie, Monsters versus Aliens. Would you want to work on
Right.
that?
So you were
So
never
then we went
exclusive.
to
You were
Panda
always
1 Day, Monsters 4 days.
all right. So you were always kind
Yeah,
of.
always show by show.
I see. You're always jumping right. So
Yeah,
it's never.
and it was nice because you don't want to. We liked it because it let us take the projects that spoke to us, that looked like they were going to be fun, while also like the great thing about Panda was it was a hit. Came out, it was a hit, and when you've written
It's
a
a
movie
big
that's
hit.
a hit, people want you to write their movies.
Right.
So and also people want you to write movies similar to the movie that was just a hit.
Right.
So it didn't matter that we had done King of the Hill or other stuff. It was, they wrote Kung Fu Panda, they should write the Chipmunks movies. We'll offer that to them.
Right. Right.
So talking animals, oh, here's another talking animal.
So did you have to, after
But then
Kung Fu
those
Panda, did you have to pitch when you go in for other assignments? Are they pretty much yours because of, or do you have to pitch? Do you have to win that assignment?
It's always a little of both. I mean, look, we were very lucky in that they weren't bake-offs where
Yeah.
6 people are coming in to pitch this. It was, I think that the Chipmunks people really like Kung Fu Panda. It was just a rewrite. Can you come? It was over Christmas.
Uh-huh.
So I think that definitely helped that they found us saying, yeah, we'll give up our holiday to write these pages for you.
Right.
But then the luck was these became franchises. So then they come to you for Kung Fu Panda 2 and Kung Fu Panda 3 and Chipmunks 3.
Right.
And then we, through
You
people we knew at
mentioned
DreamWorks, got to SpongeBob. So then you do SpongeBob, the second SpongeBob movie that led to the third SpongeBob movie.
I didn't even mention those because that's not even on your IMDb. We'll have to update that when we get off the Zoom.
Yeah,
We'll
what?
update your page. I didn't know any of this. I didn't know you did I didn't know you did that. And so, okay, because that's a big deal. Because I remember, when Seaver and I, we did a couple of movies. We sold a couple. They didn't get made. We sold a couple of movies, and then we were brought into. We didn't realize they were bake-offs. We didn't. So we pitched for a couple of big companies. I don't have to mention what they are, and we're told, yeah, you got it, and then only to discover that someone else got it. We didn't even know other people were trying to get. We had no idea, and that's a lot. You're talking about months and months of heartbreaking, wasted work, and then the project never even got made. So, but you don't really have to deal with that because of your level,
Yes, and no. The no is if you've worked with them on Kung Fu Panda 1, 2, and 3, there's a good chance they'll come to you for Kung Fu Panda 4.
Right.
So, and if you hit it off, they may say come in with some ideas and they like an idea. So they're not just saying, here's the deal before you've pitched anything. So there were meetings. But they know you can deliver. That's kind of the main thing.
Right.
If it's people who you don't really know, then they're rebooting this franchise and they're hearing takes. And what we've learned, actually the hard way, is if you're going to put yourself in that situation, you want to put I don't want to say as little work as possible. You want to do the right amount of work. That's the best way. Where we've gone in and we pitched. I know, but we've gone in where we've pitched. You pitch for 20 minutes, and then you realize by the second sentence you said the words they don't want to hear. Like, oh, that's not the kind of movie they want to do at all.
Right.
And we've learned a better strategies to go and say, here, I understand you want to do a silly putty movie. I'm totally making this up, but you could go this way where silly putty, it's a revenge story where it's a John Wick meets silly putty.
Right.
Or it's the origin story of how serious putty became silly putty because of a family tragedy, and he's the clown who laughs through tears. Each of these is an archetype movie. Right. And then I don't know if any of those strike. Well, we kind of do like that. It's like, okay, we'll come back to you with that.
It's interesting because you set the terms then over the pitch art, because that's not usually how we would go in. We would, here's the take. Here's our take, and then you could be completely off. I didn't know you had a choice.
Well, this is a new realization.
Uh-huh.
Because kind of what's happened is after doing a lot of these movies, you start to think, okay, I like this. I know what I'm doing. What's something I don't really know how to do that I haven't done before?
Mhm.
And that's the type of movie where a person isn't necessarily going to say, get me the guys who did Kung Fu Panda. So you
Right.
got to hustle for those a little more. And those were the ones where I think we were over preparing for many of them by saying, we're going to blow them away with the attention to detail.
Yeah.
And especially in a Zoom era where you blow them away with attention to detail. And their thinking is, I just need 3 sentences to bring the boss. And it's
Really.
hard because as storytellers, you sometimes feel like I'm sorry, I cannot pitch this idea unless I understand the character arcs
Yeah,
and
right.
the 3 acts. And you think, maybe sometimes you can go in and say, and then in the 3rd act, there's a huge battle in which the forces of evil have to go against the forces of
I'd be
good.
worried about pitching something that I didn't know how to actually break. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes, I know. You eventually you just kind of have to have confidence and say, you know what, we'll figure something out.
we'll
It's
figure
hard.
something.
It's really hard to, even at this point, we'll go into a rewrite and say, what is that 3rd act set piece? I don't know, but we'll figure it out. And it's in the back of your head thinking, if I don't get that,
Yeah,
what
right.
how? And then one day it'll be like, oh, wait a minute. Well, what if this happened? Because we just like it will come to you. And I think it's a little, maybe this is the animation experience. It's a little foolish to even think I know what the perfect act 3 is before I've actually written acts 1 and 2.
Yeah, but
And
usually
instead rely on your instincts and
you
your
want to build to
experience.
something. You want to. It's so. I'm telling you how to do it. I have no idea how to do it.
No, but
But
of course you will build to it. You know you need to build to something, but you may not know the ingredients yet. Like you'll be writing something and say, well, I'll give you a good example. In Kung Fu Panda, we wound up having this Poe's big realization
Mhm.
that, can I give spoilers after 15 years after movies open?
I believe so.
Okay. So Poe's opened the scroll and it's blank. And he realizes he's failed. And his father says to him, it's okay. You can be a noodle man just like me. And by the way, it's time I told you the secret ingredient of my soup. And the secret ingredient is nothing. There is no secret ingredient. It was just to make something special, you just have to believe it's special. And really, that was just a joke about his father, who in the first scene, we wrote that, oh, that'd be funny if he has a secret ingredient soup. And later we find out there is no secret ingredient. It's just a marketing gimmick. And it wasn't until he got to the later scene where someone, I think this Bill Damashki's his name, he was then the executive of DreamWorks, and he said, I like what you're doing there. You're kind of making a comparison between the scroll being blank and the soup not really having the specialness. That's into here. And we said, that's not at all is that what we're doing? That is what we're doing.
Right.
I don't know if we consciously did that or everyone working on the movie was putting that stuff in there. But so if we had started with what is it,
Right.
we never would have gotten there. But like, I mean, it's funny we talk about ingredients, but we had these ingredients of the father, the soup. We had this scroll that was blank, and it took a whole bunch of time and thinking for a person to look at that with fresh eyes and say, I think you've given yourself the moment you need to do the rest of the movie.
Do you think this is how they tell their movies at Pixar? They have a different process, do you think?
That I don't know. All I know of the process there is they seem to draw on tablecloths.
Is that really?
That I don't know. That was there's some documentary where they have this famous tablecloth. That's amazing. Where the brain trust was meeting, and they said, "Well, here's some movies I think we could do." There was, what if toys come to life? What if bugs come to life? What if? But beyond that, I don't really know their process. It's probably somewhat similar.
So interesting. And when you work, I'm jumping around, but your partner Glenn, he lives not in LA. So how do you guys do? What do you work on Zoom? Is that how you guys?
Yeah, we've been Skype for years and years, just audio. I'm a Skypist. And I'll tell you
Why
why.
just yeah, go on. And why just audio?
I'm a Skypeist because Skype lets you Skype out, so you can call people's cell phones. So if our agent or lawyer or an executive or anyone, we need them to take a meeting, he just stays in my ear and says, all right, let me patch him in. And then you can
Okay.
call.
Interesting.
Also, we started before Zoom.
Right.
So and why no video?
Yeah.
Is initially it was for bandwidth reasons. It was laggy at Skype at one point, and Glenn was out in the sticks and didn't have
Because you could have used a phone, you know that? Skype without video is a phone.
Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of with other things we could do, but we realized I don't need to see him staring at me. I don't. I'm not like the old married couple. We're okay with the silence
And do you
when you're going like this and you're not hearing anything.
are you on Final Draft Collaborator? Is that what you're doing or what?
No,
Well, how does
I
that
know
work?
there's a lot of that we could do, and if it's really important, we might say, oh, let's like now we outline on Google Docs
Okay.
instead of sending Word documents back and forth. Is this you're working on Tuesday's version? No, this is Thursday's. Wait, now you can see it, and that's useful. But I feel like there are two ways to write. One is staring at the words, and the other is staring at the sky.
Right.
And some days I feel like doing one, Glenn feels like one, sometimes the other. Like I don't want to even know what's there. I just want to
But
keep
who's at the
coming up with
keyboard?
stuff. Hopefully Glenn. There have been times where we'll come up with a whole thing and then say, "You got that? I thought you were typing." So we usually say, "You're typing, right?" Yeah, yeah.
Oh
It's
my
like, oh
God,
God, I'm
that's
trying to remember it.
that's a
It
nightmare.
rarely happens.
That's pretty funny.
We also lately have been doing more. There's nothing. Writing is harder than rewriting. So sometimes we'll just say, you do just the worst, ugliest pass of those three scenes. I'll do these three scenes. Then let's stick them together and move on. And then it might be, we're going through this process now in a script where it's been 2 months since we started some of these scenes. And now you look back at it and say, oh, okay, now I really understand what this scene has to be. And you're glad you didn't spend forever on those opening scenes.
How many hours a day can you work? You know, on King of the Hill. Let's talk about that. But how many hours a day do you guys generally put in before you're fried?
I mean, I don't know. We used to be fairly rigorous about, say, a 10 to 6, with an hour for lunch.
That's a long day, though.
It was a long day, but some of that is chit-chatting and talking to people.
Even still, it's like I find, after, 10 to maybe 2-ish or 3-ish, you're looking at your watch, because you're not your best. But on TV, you have to keep going. But in features, you don't.
Well, I think that's true, but I also think our consulting bones they'll never fault us for lack of effort.
Right.
Just kind of that, let's just grind it out. And then as you get more experience, you get older, you realize, all right, well, if we're going to spend the first half hour just chatting about stuff and email, why don't we start at 10:30? Or we don't have a lot to do today, so I'm going to go see my sons play. And you kind of realize that, Greg used to say this to us all the time at King of the Hill, is that if you're working so hard, you're not living your life, you have no life to write about.
Right. That's true.
And so I think as I believe that Glenn and I now believe in taking advantage of one of the greatest things about being a screenwriter, which is that your time is your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to, hey, I'm going to go, so we're going to go see my kids do something, my son compete in whatever it is, or this play or that, without feeling like, oh, I got to ask the showrunner if I can take the day off. And or I don't know if I should make a dentist appointment at 3:00 or get my hair cut at 3:00 because that's part of the workday. And to say, you know what, you can get your hair cut in the middle of the day. That's okay. You'll get the work done. And to your point, realizing that 8 hours is a lot of writing.
It
6 hours is a lot of writing, and that you can actually get a lot of writing done in less.
Yeah.
Or sometimes no writing. and you sometimes you're not feeling it, but you work through it, and then it comes. Like I think that's one of the things I truly believe in, is that it's ridiculous to think I need to wait for inspiration.
Yeah.
You can't. You just to me, the mark of a professional writer is you sit down when you're not inspired and when you're not feeling funny, and when something horrible has happened and you're totally not in the mood to be writing a comedy, and then you just turn it on and you start writing. And I developed the ability to write anywhere. I can write on a plane. I can write in a coffee shop. I can write in a waiting room, in a doctor's office, sitting in an airport floor, and just put in the earphones, and I don't have a ritual of a place I have to be, or a drink I need in front of me, or an amount of noise and any of that. And it's to treat it like, in a way, it's a craft. It's not a mysterious thing where these lines come to you. You got to grind it out sometimes.
So at this point, though, you're pretty much you're good with features. You really don't have any ambition to even write a pilot.
Well, this weird thing has happened, which is, while we've been buried in features, TV has exploded and is better than it's ever been.
Right.
So there's that part of us that says, well, wait a minute. I don't have to do 24 of these. Like, we were doing 24 King of the Hills a year.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's an insane amount of work. And some of these shows are doing 8.
Yep.
And they're amazing. And you can get into it, and we could create, and we could do all this. Now, of course, the problem is that's you're more familiar with that. Okay, so wait a minute. What do you get paid to write 8 episodes? Okay, so
and they
then
can
you
also
decide, do you take time away from feature gigs to do that? Like, that's one of the calculi. But I think more of it is just busy in features. So do we have time for TV? Maybe. When you come up with an idea and say, oh, that'd be a great show.
Right.
We'll write it down and then say, maybe this is something. I don't want to say never, because it just seems like it's just fun.
Yeah. Well, it just
am I wrong?
It totally depends on. It just depends, because sometimes you'll be on a show. The writing staffs are getting smaller. They're doing these mini room things, which fortunately I haven't ever had to do, but I've heard horror stories about these mini rooms.
Is it the number of people in the room is mini, or are the rooms themselves very small?
It's a closet full of 10 people. No, it's before the show gets a pickup. So they'll say, we'll put together a mini room. You guys will break 10 stories, but because we're not producing any of these, we'll only pay you your writing fee. So you're not getting a producing fee. And we all know most of your money is producing fee, because that way they can pay you less into your health and pension. It's a scam that they're pulling, and now it really screws you. So, but I've never had to deal with that. But that's the problem with the mini room. So
I mean, I do feel, first of all, super fortunate that when, like, on the one hand, we've been in features and there's been this golden age. On the other hand, it sounds like things have been, what the stories I hear, it's hard.
Oh yeah, it's definitely hard,
because I can sit here and bitch about the 24 episodes we did and how exhausting it is, but 24 times your episode fee was a good year.
That's a good year. And now you'll be on a show for 8 or 10 episodes, and now you have to try to jump and get another show or sell a pilot. And what if you don't? It's definitely harder. Yeah.
Yeah, we had, believe me, I had the years where you say, oh, I wish I didn't have to spend. Look, back when we had pilot season, where you would say, I wish I didn't have to spend March through June, whatever it was, of every year, not knowing what job I was going to have next year. And then you get on King of the Hill, and it's, oh, wow, I know what job I'm going to have for a while at least. It was a great, it's a great feeling.
Yeah.
But they all have their pluses and minuses. It was then I'd see friends who get 2 months off or 3-month hiatus, knowing they were coming back to a job. And I'd say, oh, they're doing 22 episodes in 8 months. And then they come back and do another. I'm doing 24 in 12 months. With maybe get you
3 weeks of vacation.
3 weeks off.
Yeah. Which was not, I thought that was cool. I was like, wow, I could actually take, we could plan a vacation. I don't know.
Yeah, that's when you start to feel like, oh, this is a job. What,
Yeah.
this is supposed to be fun and entertainment. And what do you mean? I
Oh,
got to put in for vacation? When did this become
but that's
a
what it
law
was at
firm?
At King of the Hill, because it was literally in an office building with law firms on either side. So like it was not Hollywood at all. You were just an ordinary
I
stiff
know
going to work.
it was really, except you'd ride in the elevator with people with their briefcases, and I
Right.
think, oh, that could have been me. But
Oh
I'm getting
yeah.
off on the fourth floor, not the
Fourth.
11th. And fourth
That's
floor is where the fun is.
That's right. Yeah. Man, oh man. That's so funny. But yeah, I mean, I'm just, we talk, Steve and I talk about you guys, and it's just amazing the career that you've put together in film. Because it's not an easy jump. It's not an easy it isn't easy, and it's not easy to stay there. But yeah, you had that big hit, and that can carry a long way. So
Yeah, and look, I'd say sure, talent and perseverance and all those things, but you say yes to this, no to that. It's really kind of it's random. I could
yeah.
have, like, how many shows could we have said yes to instead of King of the Hill? There was a time when we would be crushed every year because we were shooting. This show is going to be NBC Thursdays at 8:30 after
Yeah.
Friends. If we get on this show, we're set. And then we wouldn't get on staff. Like, and then that show would get canceled after
Yeah.
6 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then because we didn't take that King of the Hill came our way.
Right.
And it's one of the things you see is that you can't plan a career at all in this. You can only you're sort of like you're swimming forward saying, I'll eat that, I'll avoid that. And then
Mm-hmm.
you look back and you say, whoa, look how it's like skiing down a mountain.
Yeah.
You're just going through, and then you turn around and look and you say, whoa, that was a pretty steep hill I just went
Yeah.
down. It's all behind you, and only after a number of years can you look back and realize what brought you
Yeah.
to the, well, hopefully not the bottom, a ski mountain in reverse. What brought you to the peak? Right?
It's interesting. I was listening to, I can't remember. Oh, it was a Jim Carrey interview. That's who it was. His dad wanted to be, I guess, a saxophone player. He was a great jazz musician or whatever, but he had a family and then gave it up. He got like a regular job. I think it was like selling insurance or something like that, like a normal job, instead of pursuing his passion, because he wanted the stability to have a family. Then at some point he got fired from his job, like at 52 or something. This job that was supposed to be safe and secure, he got fired from because it went out of business or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And that crushed him, because it was like, but I traded it for security. I traded all my passion for security, and I don't even have security now.
Yeah, that's the I've been at this for a while now, and when I look back, I think, wait a minute, I've spent this many years never knowing what my next job is going to be.
Yeah.
But you can't think of it that way, or you will curl up in a ball from the uncertainty. You just have to say, what do I know? I'm certain of that I can write well and be professional and be diligent and meet deadlines and be a professional. And that's what I can control. And hopefully that's enough for opportunities to come to me. And when they come,
Yeah.
I'll be ready and execute and fulfill the expectation. You don't always, you turn in a script and they decide they don't like it. And
Yeah.
that happens too. And that part of being a professional is saying, okay, not everyone's going to love everything. And sometimes you just have a way of going, it just does not work for them. And you live to fight another battle.
Right. I had a physical with my doctor a couple of years ago, and I was in between jobs, and you don't know how long you're gonna be jobs. It could be weeks or months or longer. And he's like, what are you working on now? I was like, I'm trying to get my next gig. He goes, I don't know how you do it. It would drive me crazy. I'd want to kill myself. I'm like, yeah.
And
yeah.
by the way, and I can prescribe a lethal dose of barbiturates in case
yeah, really. Yeah.
But yeah, sure. Some people, it is hard.
Yeah.
We would, our agent would I think find it at one point humorous, or it seemed humorous, where we would turn in a script and then the next day email our agent and say, "What's next?" With the joke being like, "I don't want to be unemployed for a single day."
Yeah.
And what's changed in the last 5 or 6 years is you better be sending that email 4 months before you're turning in a script, because that's sometimes how long it takes to even get a meeting on something.
Interesting. Even for you, even
This
now.
exec really wants to sit down with you. Great. How's March 15th?
Yeah.
Like March 15th, it's January 15th. Well, I know, but everyone goes to Sundance and
Right.
then they do this and then they do that. And you kind of have to, I wouldn't say it's not stacking projects. I'm never writing more than one thing at once, because I think that mentally that's pretty hard to jump
Yeah.
around a lot. But you start thinking like, what's out there? Who's starting to look? What you just kind of have to
Yeah.
do that a little bit more now, of prepping, of coming up with those pitches that like we were talking about earlier. If all right, we're done this thing and now I wrote a scene today, I got 20 minutes to relax. Well, what if I just came up with 6 silly putty movies?
Right.
Again, I'm not pitching silly putty. I'm trying to think of something I'm totally not pitching as an
Right.
example.
Silly Putty just called. They're they
I
weren't going
wonder
to
if
make
they're
a
going to like
movie.
my
Yeah.
ideas. I'm coming in.
I like serious putty turns to silly putty. That's something there.
It isn't bad, but
Yeah.
look, that's the other fun thing is to when you write the kind of movies I write, and it's a matter of time between anytime something hits, 8 other people will be sure that their product is similar. Like they will embrace the Lego movie's a huge hit. This
Yeah.
fill in the blank toy is going to be a huge hit too.
Yeah.
And it doesn't quite work that way.
I've actually learned quite a bit. I didn't know any of this. This is what you do is new to me. It's unfamiliar territory to me. Yeah. So I found this very interesting conversation.
Well, that's good. I'm happy to help, and I think at the end of the day, there's the nice thing is the commonality is writing from character,
Yeah.
whether it's an animated character, a TV character,
But you know what?
a
When we were doing we sold a couple movies, and I was a little. There was so much free rewriting. There was so much free work that had to be done that it really took the wind out of me. And no one was to blame. Everyone was doing their jobs. All the producers were doing their jobs. And I'm like, but you guys you're going to kill me here, and I don't get paid for this. And I was like, I'd rather stay in TV. I just thought it was much saner.
Yeah, that's for sure a problem, because you turn in a script and I think you're right. Everyone's doing their job, and their job is to have the best possible version of the script to turn into their boss.
Right.
So you'll get I love it, but before I show it to this person, if you could just fix these things, because I know he really has a pet peeve about people saying the word stupid. So we need to take out all the stupids. But also, I was also thinking in this scene, I go, oh, okay, all right. Oh,
Does
okay,
that get you?
that's,
Does that bother you at this point, or you're just like, oh, okay, does that?
I'll tell you what, I guess what bothers me is there are times where a person has said, I think this part could be better because you're missing this, and I'm confused by this. And that's going to affect the read. And you look at it and you say, that's really true. That's good. It's the times when it's either based on fear or the supposition that this person is going to have all these thoughts. So you'll spend a week rewriting it, and then none of those concerns were the boss's concerns. Like we once did we adapted a French movie that took place, it was cavemen, and it was the world's first murder. And these 2 cavemen tried to solve the crime. And we started getting notes like, I don't know about the main character's mother who appears in this scene. I'm not sure about that scene. And maybe we should think, and our thought was, either you want to make a caveman murder mystery or you don't. No studio is going to decide whether or not to make it based on the main character's mother in that scene. Her attitude seems a little off. So then sometimes it just feels like, well, what are we doing? Are the steps we're making moving this towards the green light? And if they are, that's great. You want to be a team player.
They'll always try to convince you that it is.
That's really true. And that's in an ideal world, what happens is your agent and manager call them up and say, no way is my client doing this.
Oh, do
and
you do
that's
that?
It's never going to happen.
Oh, I was going to say, 'cause I don't think I've ever won that fight. I don't think I've ever won that fight. Like in terms of
you can't win that fight.
Right.
Because the producers and the studios control the narrative. So you just get played off as they're difficult. They won't do this work. They didn't turn in the script we thought they were going to turn in. So one of the keys is if you work with really good people who trust you, they won't put you in that position. They will say, hey, this sucks. I know I hate to ask you to do this, but could you just take a look? Here are 10 notes that the junior executive gave. And if you could just address these, they can give it to their boss with their full full-throated support. And then you realize, okay, if you tell me my role in this, I can fulfill that role. But if you're making it seem like these are actually improving, does that make sense? Like, don't tell me these are making the script better, but it's okay to tell me these aren't going to make it better, but they're going to make it sell.
Right.
Because I get that this is a business and that you're trying to convince a person or a green light committee, however many people, to spend $80 million on an idea.
Right.
And that is not something anyone does lightly.
Yeah.
And you need every cheerleader you can get. And that's part of being a professional screenwriter, is also saying, okay, what do you need from me to give you what you need to sell this?
Right.
And great producers know those things, and insecure producers don't necessarily know that. So they just become very reactive to the latest thing the studio is telling them.
Right. Right. Exactly.
We had, I'll tell this story, and if it goes bad,
if it goes south,
we had done a pilot with and when we pitched it to someone at the studio, they said, oh, like, that is exactly the kind of show that the network should be making. Yes, we're gonna pay you to write that. Then in the process of writing it, the studio exec got hired by the network, where he then passed on it.
Well, wait a minute. We had that same exact thing happen to us. I'll tell you that off the air.
And at the time it was, but of course, in his defense, maybe once you're on the inside, you realize exactly what they're looking for. Like, he could have said hey, I steered you wrong, whatever, but it was just because they think, oh my God, we got the man on the inside. He's going to fight for it as surely as he did when we sold it.
Cowards, all of them. How funny is that? That's hilarious. Well, this is a good stopping point. John Aibel, thank you so much for having me on this chat. Hopefully, you'll tell your partner Glenn that, and he'll contradict everything you just said. I'll get the true version.
Say, let me tell you what really happened.
What really happened? Yeah. But thank you so much. This was I know my audience is going to love this, but I love this because this is a really educational.
I'm here for the audience of one, Michael.
That's me. All right, man. Thank you so much, everyone.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening. And until next time, keep writing.
This has been an episode of Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin. If you'd like to support this podcast, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing this podcast with someone who needs to hear today's subject. For free daily screenwriting tips, follow Michael on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Michael Jamin Writer. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Phil A. Hudson. This episode was produced by Phil Hudson and edited by Dallas Crane. Until next time, keep writing.